orbiting the Moon at an altitude of 100 kilometers aboard the cramped but cozy lunar orbital outpost affectionately named Starlight. Beam when a priority alert screams through your helmet speakers. The Solar Dynamics Observatory has detected a coronal mass ejection of unprecedented ferocity racing toward the Earth-Moon system at nearly 2,000 kilometers per second. The high-energy particle flux will arrive in precisely 3 hours, or 10,800 seconds. The base where you currently sip recycled coffee sits in a circular orbit just 100 kilometers above the dusty regolith, but the only radiation-hardened shelter capable of withstanding the storm is the Memorial Crater Base orbiting at a much safer 500 kilometers altitude. Your only hope is the Mark 7 escape pod bolted to the airlock. This vehicle can perform a single impulsive burn to enter an elliptical Hohmann transfer orbit that will carry you to the higher sanctuary. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to calculate the exact moment after the storm warning to fire the engines so that your arrival coincides precisely with the peak of the radiation blast. Additionally, you must determine the total change in velocity required for the maneuver. The Moon is a perfect sphere with a radius of 1,737 kilometers and a mass of 7.35 times 10 to the 22nd kilograms. The universal gravitational constant G is 6.67 times 10 to the minus 11 Newton meters squared per kilogram squared. First, determine the circular orbital radii of both the initial and target orbits by adding the altitude to the lunar radius. The low orbit radius is 1,837,000 meters, and the high orbit radius is 2,237,000 meters. The gravitational parameter mu equals g times n, which computes to 4.90245 times 10 to the 12 cubic meters per second squared. The semi-major axis of the Hohmann transfer ellipse is simply the average of these two radii, yielding 2,037,000 meters. The time required to travel from periapsis to apopsis is exactly half the period of this ellipse given by pi times the square root of a cubed over mu. Plugging in the numbers, the transfer time comes to 4,124.8 seconds, just under 69 minutes. Since the storm arrives in 10,800 seconds, you must wait 6,675.2 seconds after the alert before lighting the engines. The required velocity changes are computed using the Vis-Viva equation. At the initial orbit, the circular speed is 1,633.5 meters per second, while the periapsis speed on the transfer ellipse is 1,711.9 meters per second, demanding a burn of 78.4 meters per second. At arrival, the circular speed at the higher orbit is 1,480.5 meters per second, but the pod arrives at only 1,406 meters per second, necessitating a second burn of 74.5 meters per second. The total delta V budget for this life-saving maneuver is 152.9 meters per second. Fire the thrusters precisely on schedule, and you shall live to sip recycled coffee another day. Kindly please drop a follow, share, and comment on all socials, Novas alums, or check bio. Thank you and have a blessed day.